Now we're finally starting to see some reality. Now we're getting down into the reality of the situation. When Joe Biden was initially diagnosed with cancer, we had this initial slew of conservative content creators come out of the woodwork to say, we don't wish Joe Biden any ill will. We're not like you. We don't wish him ill will. We're not going to celebrate this. And I made a video, a couple of videos, saying, bullshit. Just say what you really want to say about Joe Biden, because when the time comes that we hear of some ailment or something that befalls Donald Trump, we are not going to come on here and pretend like we wish him nothing but the best. So I am actually grateful to see content creators like the one I'm about to show you who are at least being real about the situation. Because when I was growing up, we had politics in which Republicans and Democrats could vehemently disagree on policy and still get along. We had people who were Republicans who could get married to people who were Democrats and have a very long and fulfilling life without having to argue like cats and dogs. And since we have entered into the era of what I am calling the slippery slope of far right wing fascism. It started with Ronald Reagan a little bit, but we still got along, right? We could argue, and then there was a little bit more with Bill Clinton, but we could still get along. There were Democrats and Republicans that could still get along. And we got into the George W. Bush eras, and we started to get a little bit more divided and a little bit more divided. And as we got to Obama, we went off the fucking rails, right? We had the formation of the Tea Party. We had the unprecedented use of the filibuster. We had a sitting Senate minority leader say publicly that the only agenda that they had was to make sure Obama was a one-term president. We had the unprecedented move of denying him even a hearing on a Supreme Court justice vacancy. And the division has only grown further and further and further since then, because we saw the people on the right who could not stand the man. And let's just make sure we understand what happened under Obama, right? They couldn't stand the fact that a black man won. Period. That's it. If Barack Obama was a white man named Barry Smith, who was a Republican, and he did all of the things that he did in the two terms, those people on the right would be demanding his face be put on Mount Rushmore. But I digress. They couldn't stand the fact that a black man won, so we became divided politically. Enter Donald Trump. The division continues. Enter Joe Biden. For some reason, they view Joe Biden as the worst fucking president in American history, because we're now into that cycle. The next Democratic president will be the worst president in American history. And then the next one after that will be the worst one. Mark my words. Enter Donald Trump again, right? And the division just keeps on growing. So I understand that we don't live in the same world that I lived in when I was growing up, where people could be from opposing political parties and still get along. That era is rapidly dying. So I am grateful when I see people like this at least be honest.
Joe Biden diagnosed with aggressive cancer. I guess good things do happen if you wait long enough. Yeah, I hope it's prolonged, and I hope it's painful as fuck. Couldn't have happened to a better person.
Now, before people on the left side of the political aisle start typing about how fucking disgusting you think that man is, stop. Because I'm going to ask you a question. If the news was that Donald Trump was diagnosed with that exact same form of cancer, what would your response be? I know what my response is going to be if that happens. It's going to be identical to that. I guess good things do happen if you wait long enough. I hope it's prolonged, and I hope it fucking hurts. I hope it's agonizing. And you guys know that most of you are going to feel the exact same way if that ever befalls Donald Trump. We try to act civilized in the modern era. We try to say that we're all on the same page when something comes up. I would never wish anything like that. You might not wish it on somebody, but you're sure not going to fucking not celebrate when it happens. So when people like that step forward, we're seeing the reality of the situation right now. We really are. When Rush Limbaugh got cancer and we got that news, I said, thank fucking God. Couldn't have happened to a nicer person. Hope it hurt on the way out, motherfucker, because of the pain he has caused other people. Now, when I hear somebody like John McCain had cancer, that wasn't my thought process. If I heard somebody like Colin Powell or somebody else along the lines when Poppy Bush got sick, that wasn't my response, but it was when Rush got sick. It will be if Mitch McConnell ever befalls that kind of illness ever befalls Mitch McConnell, and it sure as fuck will be if I ever wake up and see the news that Trump got diagnosed with something like this. So before we go running around talking about how those people are disgusting, let's think about how we would react if that news was Donald Trump, because we'd be throwing fucking parties.